Hi everyone, so this video is going to be a redraw of an old drawing that I made. It was either from 2016 or 2017. I'm not sure while recording this, but I'll put it in the video and on the screen so you know what year. My gut is telling me that it's 2016, but just based on all the mistakes that are in it, but who knows. I think it has been 2 years though. And I was scrolling through my Instagram trying to find something to redraw because I have like a lot of years of art on my Instagram. It's not that much, but I did have some stuff to choose from. And I didn't want to choose something that I was currently happy with. There was this portrait I made, I think like a year ago, of this girl with wings for eyelashes. And I still like the way that one looks. And I didn't want to redraw it because I would probably make it worse, to be honest. So I wanted to choose something that I was proud of when I made it a while ago. But nowadays I can see all the mistakes that it has. And I can like clearly see some stiffness in it and just some not so good anatomy and some composition things I could fix, and just trying to like make the colors work better together. I struggled a lot more on this than I thought I would because I'm using my iPad and I don't think I'm quite used to how the brushes work yet. I kept trying out different brushes. And the thing about digital art is I always make things a little too stiff, so that's why I have to go back and erase parts that I make because I'll overwork areas and then the arms just get super stiff and lifeless. So it was a constant battle throughout this, trying to make it not look extremely stiff and trying to give it some life, because I think the original one actually has quite a lot of movement and I didn't want to make it look too boring. I remember when I made the first one, I was really focused on the colors and just trying to incorporate all different kinds of colors within the shading. I think one thing I did back then, I still do it now, but like in this drawing, I was really focusing on like the line art color. So I think I made it pink in some areas, so I kind of blended the pink into the whole drawing. I didn't change the colors too much. I also didn't want to make it look too identical to the original because I wouldn't necessarily make those color choices or those shading choices nowadays. So I tried to, I would look at the reference, then I would hide it, and I'd try to draw it my own way, and then I would compare it to see if I need to make it look a little bit more similar to it. I tried not to look at the old one too much so I could just focus on my current skill set and the current way I like to think about things. And while painting this, I just realized I don't like painting like realistically proportioned people digitally. It's just not very fun for me. I much prefer doing more stylized and like illustrative stuff. I know this is still pretty stylized, but her proportions are quite more realistic than what I'm used to doing, but I do think it's a good way to just kind of see how far I've come, because I think the one I made however long ago it was, the original one, was supposed to be somewhat realistic proportions. Like, she's not super cartoony or anything, like she still has pretty much normal proportions. So I think like I can draw in all different kinds, not all different kinds, but I have a couple of different styles that I cycle through, and this one I would call like the more semi-realistic one, and I just don't enjoy it that much, but I do think it was good practice for me. It's not really gonna be like a print or anything, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. I just wanted to see the ease of drawing this and how much improvement I've had over the years, and I do think I've improved a lot. There are some things in the original that I do like a little bit better. I think that the hair just has a lot of movement, and I don't know, somehow the bangs work a little bit better in the older one, but to me they don't really look that good because they just kind of look like they're sitting on the head. I tried to make the newer one look like they're actually part of her head. I'm just really not a fan of working with this kind of style, so I found this a bit of a challenge, but like I said, it's good practice and to see how far I've come. So I'm using the iPad Pro 10.5 inch for this in Procreate, and I tried filming it a bunch of different ways, like with an actual camera, the built-in screen recording, or like the actual entire screen recording that the iPad, that like all Apple products have now. I think all of them. I'm not quite sure. I wanted to kind of keep it visually interesting, so I want to vary all the different angles and types of recordings that you see. It's definitely not the most polished looking one. I think the original one was actually quite sketchy too, so I kind of wanted to keep it the same. And plus, I'm still not really used to the brushes on Procreate, and I didn't plan this one that well. Usually I'll do like a cleaner sketch, but I just used my rough sketch because I just wanted to get right into it, and I was just really excited to paint it, so I didn't start with the cleanest I didn't have the cleanest sketch to start with, and I do recommend trying to clean up your sketch before you paint because it just makes it so much easier on yourself. And if you have really thick, scratchy lines like I did, I always find it extremely difficult to make it not too stiff and to give it movement because the lines are just so thick, it kind of weighs it down, and they don't know which line to go with. So there's a lot of things I probably should have done differently, and I knew at the time I should have done them differently, but I was just excited just to jump straight into it. And I think I kind of pulled it together in the end. I'm not the most happy with it. I think it's just this drawing. I'm not loving the concept as much as I did when I first made it. But it's just to see how far I've come. And I think I've said that like 3 times now. And I definitely think I've improved. I'm actually surprised at how much easier I have a time of... No, that didn't make sense. I'm actually surprised at how much easier it is for me to draw like the female torso. I used to struggle with that so much, and it's still not perfect, but I didn't use a reference for this. I probably should have. That would have made it better. I should have used a reference. Maybe I will go back in and tweak some things with a reference. But I didn't use a reference. I just tried to do it off the top of my head, and I'm actually surprised that it looks a lot better than the original one. There's a lot of anatomy mistakes with the original that I of course didn't notice at the time, but nowadays I definitely noticed them, and I think I was able to fix most of the mistakes, and I tried to make her expression look a bit more realistic because she was supposed to she kind of looked almost like downturned, sort of like, no, downcast, sort of sad, melancholy sort of expression. At least to me, that's what it looked like. So I wanted to exaggerate that a little bit and try to make the expression look a bit more natural. So I've been working on expressions a little bit lately, and it's something I want to put more focus on because I think having clearer expressions are just better. Rather than just me drawing just like someone smiling slightly, I want to have more interesting expressions. So that's something I tried to put a lot of focus on. Before I go on with the rest of the video, I just have a quick message from Skillshare, which is sponsoring this video. You've probably heard of them before. They sponsor a lot of art channels, and we're all very grateful for that. So Skillshare is an online learning community. There's thousands of classes in design, business, illustration, technology, and more. The premium membership gives you unlimited access to all the different classes taught by a bunch of different teachers, and if there's anything you're looking to learn, you might be able to find it on Skillshare. As some of you might know, I've done a couple videos on lino cuts, and there's actually videos like that on Skillshare that shows you how to make lino cut prints. For instance, one is called Carving Out Your Style, Reduction Lino Cut Workshop, and that's by Victoria Elliott. Skillshare is also more affordable than other learning platforms out there because an annual subscription is less than $10 a month. And I actually have a link in my description for 2 free months for the first 500 people. So if you want to try out Skillshare, you can click that link in my description. So thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and on to the rest of the video. References honestly help so much. You can go from drawing something that doesn't look too good to drawing it almost completely accurately just by looking at a couple different pictures. It just kind of reminds yourself of what it looks like, and then you kind of have that like visual memory, and you can then draw it properly. And definitely for human bodies, it's always good to use a bunch of different references so you're not copying one thing. It's good to like combine it all together so it's more original, but it just really helps you just draw things more accurately, because the only reason why we know how to draw things is by seeing them. We only draw people because we see people every day. We draw plants because plants grow on this earth, and buildings are on this earth. Like, that's the only reason why we know how to draw things. I always like to do these redraw things just to see how far I've improved. It kind of reminds you that you're going in the right direction, and it's really encouraging to be able to notice mistakes in your old work, because that means that you're improving, and to be able to actually fix those mistakes is really rewarding. So I would definitely recommend you try this yourself. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in my next video.